Hi friends, Belinda here from Bee Making Joy. I'm recording at my parents' house in Nova Scotia, and we're going to add soles to these blanket slippers that I just whipped up for my sister-in-law. These blanket slippers are a pattern on my Ravelry page, and I previously made a video on this channel of how to do the blanket slippers. And now we're going to add soles to the bottom of it. So I'm using a heavy felt material from the craft store, or you could get even more fancy and use a leather. And we're going to cut it out and attach it to the bottom of the slippers. So the first step would be to trace the foot of the recipient, or the insoles out of my shoes, because she's the same size as I am. So I'm going to trace the insoles out of my shoes. Pardon me. I'm going to trace them on paper first, and then once that design is perfected, we'll transfer it to the felt. Here. And I'm going to go cut these out. I need to fetch the scissors. In retrospect, I suppose they are a mirror image of each other. So I'm going to perfect it, see if there's any corners that are quite out of place, because I do want them to kind of look the same, except mirror images. I think overall that's pretty good. Now let's go get the felt. I traveled with carry-ons and I brought the bare minimum with me. So the best I've got for pins is safety pins and stitch markers. I'm going to pin my pattern cutouts to the fabric, to the felt, in a manner that uses the least amount of waste, because I don't like waste. I think that's good. Let's pin it to hold it in place for while I'm cutting. See if these light bulb stitch markers work. Yeah, they're fairly sharp. That'll do. The best sharpest scissors in the world, but we'll make it work. Fairly good, doesn't it? Oops, I flipped one the wrong way. But that's okay, it's a reversible fabric. I just gotta make sure I put them the right way when I sew them on. Just gonna smooth out my corners here. Okay. Okay, let me go put my stitch markers away before they get lost, and I'll go fetch my needle and thread, which coincidentally I brought with me because I was still sewing buttons on at the airport. Actually, we need to keep these to pin it to the bottom of the slippers. So, with the slippers and the soles, let's go right foot, left foot. Get the soles lined up straight, right foot, left foot. So this one will go on this, and this will go on this. And let's flip it over, center it, and pin it. Line up the center of the heel. And line up the center of the heel with the center of the heel. And the center of the toe with the center of the toes. And a couple more pins on the side. I've got my needle, my thread, my knot in the end of the thread. I'm going to start on the heel. Or am I going to start on the toe? Does it matter which way I start? I don't know. So for my beginning stitch, I'm going to run my needle back through that loop next to the knot to secure it. That first stitch is secure. Now I'm going to whip stitch all the way around. Getting through some of the yarn, making sure I'm not closing the shoe. Just get through one layer of the yarn, the fabric. I'm just watching as I go to make sure it's still centered in the bottom of the foot. Now, if I had my choice of materials, I'd probably use a heavier thread than this sewing thread. Like maybe a pearl cotton thread. Or crochet thread. At any rate, my sister-in-law brought me the pair that I had made her last year and asked me to repair them because she had wore them so much she wore holes through the bottom of the feet. So I whipped up another pair and decided to add these soles. I've never done this before, adding the soles to the slippers, but I think it's going to work out good. Like I said, just checking every now and again to make sure it's still centered. And that I'm not going through multiple layers. Wonder if putting my hand in it helps. No, I was doing better this way. Oops. Because I'm using safety pins, they're in the way. So that'll just slow me down a bit. We'll manage. Pardon me. As I go around the heel, I want to make sure I'm not all bunched up here. So let's make sure it's all smooth. Yeah, it's coming along nicely. If there was a bunch, a bulge, I would probably unditch it and fix that bulge. But it's going along nicely. Blanket yarn is so fluffy, it's hard to tell when I've got the core of the yarn to make sure I've got a secure stitch. See, I'm gonna make sure I got that core part of that yarn. Not just the fluff. My phone's dinging. I actually have cell service today. So as I'm getting down to about 3 inches of yarn thread, left, it's time to tie off in a knot. So to do that knot, I would go through that stitch I just made and then back through around the thread again and tighten it up. And I would do that 3 times to secure it. Go make a stitch and go back through the loop of thread to make a knot. Make a stitch, go through the loop to make a knot. And then I'll thread the needle again and continue stitching. Save my glasses. I'm using my needle threading tool that my daughter bought me a whole package of once when she got tired of having to thread the needles for me. So I stick it through the eye of the needle and then the thread through the loop on the threader. And then slide the needle onto the thread. And then I pull it all the way through so the 2 ends of my threads meet and I knot them together. A little moisture on my finger helps me roll it into a knot. Too much moisture just slips right off. Haha. There we go. I'll do it again. I don't think it was a big enough knot. There we go. Let's try this angle. Make my first stitch by going back through that loop. Otherwise the knot would pull all the way through the material. That stitch didn't catch any yarn. Let's try it again. My thread's almost too long to be manageable. So cut a piece to size that you can comfortably manage. The trade-off is having a piece too long to manage or having to tie that knot too many times. And if after you've reached the end of a slipper, you're not confident of your stitches, go around again. Okay, let's show you that last knot again from this angle. Get out of the way. So there, I'm going to show you that final knot from this angle. And I put my hand inside, make sure it's all smoothed out. I think it's quite nice. So that final knot, we go through, make a stitch. But instead of pulling the stitch all the way through, we're going to slip the needle through that loop, both tails of the loop. And tighten that up. And voila, a knot. And go over that stitch 3 or 4 times. And make the stitch. Slip it through the thread and shut the knot. And there we are. Where do my scissors go? There. So, if you found this video useful, please click the like button so that more people can be shown this video. And I thank you for watching, and happy knitting!